There's a new coach in the port city. The Jays are making a move, and the Olympics have come to a conclusion in Tokyo. It's Sports QuaranTV. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Sports QuaranTV. Chris Dobson, Gerry Green coming at you. We've got a great show. It's been a few weeks since we've been able to do this. We've been running around. Gerry, it is prime vacation time. But
we were on vacation, Chris. Yes, exactly.
Absolutely. So I hope everybody out there is, enjoying some live sports. Things in New Brunswick are feeling pretty good right now. The province is green. Everyone's feeling great. Life is good. But Gerry, we've got a lot to catch up on.
Well, there is, Chris, and it's odd to be talking about hockey here in early August, but a lot has happened in the world of hockey over the last few weeks since we've been away, and in specifically what happened in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League, more off the ice than on the ice. But St. John has a new coach.
Yeah, in a shocking turn of events, I shouldn't say shocking, actually. That's not probably the right way to put it. I think, a lot of people might have been surprised. And, they made the coaching change. Greg Gilbert, had a great year underneath the St. John Sea Dogs. I think there was a bit of disappointment last year during the New Brunswick bubble, the round robin they had. I think the results they were looking for were a little different than what the outcome was. But overall, yeah, they made the announcement, they made the move, and brought in Gordie Dwyer, a guy, don't forget, who's just coming off a gold medal win at the U18s, right? I mean, for Team Canada, he's a very good, strong, hard-nosed coach. We were talking off camera that this is the kind of coach that the Sea Dogs need, in my opinion. This is he's got a what's the word I'm looking for here, Gerry? No messing around mentality. I mean, he's a hard-nosed coach. He's gonna whip these guys into shape.
Right. And Chris, I have to admit, I was a little shocked. I mean, Greg Gilbert was there for the COVID shortened season. And I thought, who better to come in and has been to many locations, including the NHL and the CHL. And who better to come in and teach the Sea Dogs how to play some defense? That never happened again. There wasn't anybody to teach some of their young guns back there how to play defense. Gordie, I think, to me, I've always respected the job he's done behind the bench in junior hockey. I think he'll be a great communicator. I think he'll be a good motivator, too. And he won't mince words. And that's the thing. I mean, it gets to a point, they always say sometimes the inmates are running the prison. Well, no, I think the warden has come to town, and things are going to be a little bit different. There's going to be some structure there, and there's going to be some definite focus on defense, Chris. They've got the offense. They got to focus on defense.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because how many times have you and I, either on air or, even during our show, we've talked about the issue that the St. John Sea Dogs have. That is, they have offensive prowess. Even on their blue line, the offense is good, but nobody plays defense. Christopher Ennis was the only one that I really, truly enjoyed watching play a hard-nosed defense last year for the Sea Dogs. But overall, looking at what they're going to do and how Gordie's got 5 years of pro hockey under his belt too. He was a goon. I'm not going to use the word goon. He was an enforcer. I guess it's the proper terminology we should use. But overall, he's had success at all levels. I mean, he coached in the MHL, coached in the QMJHL for Charlottetown, or the PEI Rocket, as you were, before they became the Islanders. And then, like I said, he's got international stage present now, but, coaching the U18s to a gold medal as well. So I think this is a great hire by Trevor Georgie. I think, with a big year, the Memorial Cup and the Q, not sure exactly where it's going to go. Well, won't find that out probably for about another month or so. But yeah, it's a great hire in my opinion.
I think there's some definite characteristics, not only in the path he took, but the way he played the game between Gordie Dwyer and Gerard Gallant. Gerard Gallant could score goals, don't get me wrong, but he was more, you're more scared of him because if he started the eyes rolling in his head, he was coming after you. He was a tough competitor. And Gordie Dwyer was the same thing. That's what maybe they need in St. John, some toughness and leadership from the coaching position. But again, quite shocked that they made a change after bringing Greg Gilbert in, who I thought was going to be a high-profile coach that would move them through the pandemic and into a full season, who now, Chris, they've announced that the schedule is going to be a 68 game. That's what they're intending to do. And back to, traveling to Quebec and the Maritimes for the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League teams.
Absolutely. In fact, it's crazy. Hard to believe that training camp opens in like 6 days from now. It's absolutely crazy that we're already here. But yeah, you're right. I mean, having a full game, having a full schedule, full season, traveling again, everybody's got to be excited. I mean, especially, you look at some of the young guys who were reluctant, or the NCAA commitments, or the US players who couldn't come here because of COVID last year. I mean, there was a lot of players who were going to come to the QMJHL. In fact, for the first time in years, how many times have we seen these players saying, no, I'm going to stay here? But last year it looked like the Q was going to be the route because the US hockey side of things were shut down for so long. But then because of border restrictions, they couldn't get them into the country. So I'll be really curious to see, now that the borders are open, if they'll be able to get these free agents to show up, or if they'll be able to get these draft picks that they took in the American draft. And that's all across the board. But seeing the teams travel again with a full 68 game schedule, buildings are open. They're, as of right now, knock on wood, the Avenir Center here in Moncton will be able to house all 8,800 fans. It's an exciting time.
And Chris, just to touch on the NHL draft, we didn't get into the expansion draft and all the drama that went along with that. But I want to say salute the Quebec Junior Hockey League players, some of which we know around here. 24 of them that got drafted in the NHL draft, including Riley Kidney going to your Montreal Canadiens. Cole Huckins out of Fredericton was drafted by Calgary in the 3rd round. Jacob Melanson out in Bathurst got drafted by Seattle. Joshua Waugh, former Sea Dog, got drafted. And the one, of course, that jumps out at me is Zach Leroux out of Halifax, taken 27th overall by Bashville. And wouldn't he fit in there, wouldn't he, in that bright yellow uniform?
Absolutely. I think Zach Leroux going to Nashville's exciting. Don't forget that Nashville pick came from Carolina. That was Carolina's pick that Nashville acquired.
Yes.
So that would have been there. But yeah, I think.
Is it Bashville or Smashville? Which one is it? Is it Bashville? Smashville. Sorry.
Yeah, Smashville.
Yes.
But yeah, you're absolutely right. I think he'll fit that style really well down in Nashville as well. I mean, look, there's no denying that Zachary Leroux is going to be a highly sought after hockey player this year, especially with the Mem Cup in the QMJHL. Somebody is going to overpay to have him on a contending team. And if you're Cam Russell, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you at least see what you can get? He's going to be on the move. I have no doubt in my mind.
Yeah, it was interesting to see in the NHL draft, another one of the Hugheses going to New Jersey. And New Jersey makes, I guess, the biggest splash in free agency with Dougie Hamilton. Did that shock you a little bit that Lou Lamoriello opened up the purse strings and acquired Hamilton or attracted Hamilton to come to New Jersey?
Because it was Lou, it doesn't actually. Lou knows what he's doing. I mean, Lou's
no doubt
a great run down there. I mean, I like what he's done. I'm actually surprised, and this isn't an old Montreal reference by any way, shape, or form, but a lot of rumors have been floating around that potentially you could see a guy like PK Subban on the move again. But of course, if that was to happen, it would have to, some salary would have to be retained somewhere along the lines. But Lou Lamoriello knows what he's building in New Jersey. You talked about the Hughes draft, and what I thought was really cool, and I'm not sure if you saw it, like when he was drafted, the brother was with him. They were on the couch sitting out. Like, I love that. Like, I love that angle of it. I love the family side of things. But yeah, no, that's a great signing by him. Although that Dougie Hamilton signing started to basically steamroll the National Hockey League when it came to signing defensemen. We can't talk about the NHL without talking about the extension that Darnell Nurse took in Edmonton. I don't understand. I don't get it. I don't. How does Darnell Nurse make more money than Leon Draisaitl? I don't get it. I don't.
Well, I think they go by the statistics and the amount of ice time and the positive numbers that he has at even strength and 5-on-5. It's all that analytics stuff, but it comes right on the heels of Seth Jones signing the big contract too. And
again, overpayment. And
in Colorado with what's his name? Makar signing for all three of them are in the same neighborhood, aren't they? For price, for amount, for total.
But Cale Makar, in my opinion, younger, has earned it. Cale Makar is going to be a superstar defenseman in the National Hockey League. Dougie Hamilton's already proven he is. Darnell Nurse to me, and look, and I'm not saying he's not good. I'm just saying, how do you give him over $9 million a year? Like, he's making just a little shy of what Connor McDavid makes.
Maybe a little too rich. But this is what they're trying to do in Edmonton. We've discussed it many times about when are they going to smell the coffee and put a team around their two stars up front in Draisaitl and Connor McDavid.
Until they do something between the pipes, Jerry, nothing's going to change.
Well, exactly.
That re-signing of Mike Smith, bringing in Duncan Keith.
Hyman, I like that acquisition. Again, I think he's the type of player that they don't have on that team who can dig it out of the corner, but also put it in the back of the net. I think he can do both of those things. but then to the Duncan Keith and the Cody Ceci acquisitions on the blue line to help. But they did lose Adam Larson to the draft. So are they any further ahead? I don't know. But the same seems like the same problem starting to leak in there a little bit. McDavid, Draisaitl, Nurse, and I think they paid Nugent Hopkins a bit of money in the last few months. And now are you starting to clump a bunch of money between four guys again, like a la Toronto? Is that where it's starting to become in Edmonton?
Well, they can't. At least in Toronto, they've got no, they can't. But again,
well, they're starting to pack a lot of money onto a very few amount of players.
They're going to run out of money quickly. They're going to run out of money. But overall,
what about Philip Deneau to LA? Did that shock you at all, Chris?
Yeah, of course it did. And the reason it shocked me isn't for the dollar amount. I mean, it was very similar to what Montreal had offered him. It was very close. But what shocked me the most is he said he wanted out of Montreal because of Nick Suzuki, Kotkaniemi. His young centers were coming up, and he knew what his role was going to be. But then he goes to LA, who have the exact same situation. They've got young.
Well, that is his role, Chris. That's his strength. He's known as a great defensive-minded centerman who at times some guys get more ice time than the guys in the top two lines.
No, and you're absolutely right. Look, all the credit is due to Philip Deneau. I have no problem with it. I mean, good for him. Good for his agent. He got him paid, and I'm a fan of that. I'm not sad that Montreal. I'm glad Bergevin stood his ground and didn't overpay.
David Savard goes to Montreal, loving that, and I'm loving Mike Hoffman. I think they're doing the exact same thing there that they did with Corey Perry. I think they're getting Mike Hoffman at a decent rate, and I think what he does best is make your power play better, and that's what Montreal needs. And did you read then Corey Perry goes to Tampa Bay? He said, if I can't beat them, I'm going to join them. The last 2 years in Dallas and Montreal, couldn't beat Tampa Bay. Now he is a Lightning.
Corey Perry goes to Tampa Bay, and the only thing I've read was that it all came down to term. He wanted to stay in Montreal. Bergevin wanted to give him 1 year.
Okay.
Corey Perry wanted 2. Tampa Bay
I would have gave it to him.
Wholeheartedly. I don't understand how you don't. But hey, overall, they made the decision. And good on Corey Perry. I mean, we don't know. Like, he owes us nothing. As fans of the Habs, he owes us nothing. Right. He played his heart and soul. The question mark for me right now in Montreal is, with Shea Weber potentially about to be announced to go on the LTIR, will Brendan Gallagher be given the C? That's all I care about. I mean, is it going to happen? Who else could do that? It has to be him.
Yeah. Speaking of captains, what about the longtime captain for the Toronto Raptors, or at least I consider him a captain, and Kyle Lowry is going to move on. He's going to go to Miami. Did you think, and I think you were always a fan of, or a backer of Toronto getting something for Lowry, which they are, and it was time for him to move on. Are you still in that ilk?
I was until the article came out. And then of course the league is investigating for tampering and
that's a bunch of smoke and mirrors.
It's a media person's dream.
Right.
They needed some sort of story to follow on, but to have Dragic come on in and say that his final destination wasn't going to be Toronto. I think it sort of left and it might have been misconstrued. It was with an interview.
Yes.
So again, you take that with a grain of salt, but I think it rubbed Raptors fans the wrong way because, of course, media outlets ran with it. They're like, oh, this guy doesn't want to play here. We traded the heart and soul in a sign and trade for a guy who's not going to be here. And then he kind of redacted it and came back and said, look, that's not what I meant. I'm sorry if it was said that way. What I'm saying is they're a great team, but I want to win. And
more of the same in the NBA, Chris, with Russell Westbrook going to LA, this accumulation of talent on, a handful of teams, even though the team that won the NBA championship wasn't a team like that, which I loved about the Milwaukee Bucks. But I'm still sick of how these players are able to move from one team to the other and stack up teams, and the other teams are allowing it. I just don't get that.
It's so crazy to think that, how these teams can come together. Meanwhile, many years ago, they wouldn't allow a trade to go through to allow Chris Paul to play for the Lakers because it was going to be too stacked and one-sided.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden you're seeing these super teams formed, and it all started with LeBron. I mean, LeBron went to Miami. He took, he made the big three when he was down there with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh, and he basically looked like he was taking over NWO, WWE style. It's just one of those things where, like, when you see these super teams forming, and look, good, I'm a Lakers fan, but overall, I was happier with, and I'll be honest with you, I was happier with the Carmelo Anthony signing. I like that fact that Melo, no, he's old, I get it, but he's still got some skill there. Him and LeBron are buddies. They've been friends a long time. They came into the NBA together. I like that storyline. I don't like Russell Westbrook coming into LA. Now, look, at the end of the day, will I celebrate if they win another ring? Of course I will. But yeah, I'm with you, man. I'm tired of these super teams. But you look at a guy like Steph Curry, just signed a 4-year, $214 million extension. He's not going anywhere. He's staying in. Like, even when the super team exploded in Golden State, he stuck around. And look, they'll still be really good once Klay Thompson's healthy as well, too. So, don't kid yourself.
Off the court stuff in the NBA really bores me. I agree. I don't agree, and I don't think it's fair for those smaller market teams to have to deal with this all the time. Speaking of small market team, the Toronto Blue Jays have made some moves as the trading period came in Major League Baseball, and they did exactly what they had to, Chris. They had to add some arms, and with the fact that Springer's now back and fully healthy, and you've got a very solid lineup offensively, and now you've got the arms defensively, not only in the bullpen, but as starters.
When they added Jose Barrios, it's like, you look at everything, they absolutely loved it. And you're talking about Springer coming off back-to-back Player of the Week. He torched the Red Sox again when I thought the Red Sox were going to get a chance to win that game. Should have won that game.
Yes.
But overall, George Springer's playing real ball. This is why they acquired him. This is exactly what they did. But you talk about it. I saw a cool stat, Jerry, the other day, and I was looking at players who have scored, like actual run scored players. The Jays have the top 3 players in the entire MLB who have crossed home plate, and I think that's absolutely outstanding.
Well, the other thing about it, and Sportsnet can't stop talking about it in their coverage because it's so prominent to see how much fun they seem to be having in the dugout. You've always got the camera shots in the dugout, and Springer seems to be in the middle of it. So he's fit in with his new teammates, which are a lot younger than him. And I think the Jays are going to have started a trend here, Chris, because I thought I saw the Phillies put a hat on a player that what's his name? They took him from Washington.
Bryce Harper
put a hat on his head as he came to the dugout after hitting a home run. The Jays have started with that big coat that they put on when the guy hits the home run, and how much fun they're having with that. And that's going to be a big part of how they're going to do in the dog days of August, because they've got a busy schedule ahead of them, which starts this week when they play a number of games on the road, 9 games on the road, and they start out on the West Coast. So it's an important stretch for them coming up if Tampa Bay can stumble at all. And I don't think, Chris, you tell me, I don't think they're trying to get to first. They want to get to the wild card spot. But here you have the Yankees ahead of them doing the exact same thing that the Blue Jays are doing after they acquire Anthony Rizzo and Joey Gallo, even though Rizzo's out with COVID issues. Right. But it seemed to spark them. And then now the Yankees have gone 8-2 in their last 10.
Yankees have looked real good. Tampa's been great all year. Tampa's just a good ball club. And you look at the schedule coming up starting this week. I mean, they've got the Red Sox this week, which will be a big series for them because the Red Sox are still holding on to that wild card spot. I think they've lost 8 of their last 10 now. And the fact that's how big of a lead they had in the AL East, that they lost 8 of 10 and they're still in the top wild card spot. So which actually I was also crazy. We were talking about this off camera, is that there's about 50 games left of Major League Baseball for the season, and the Jays and Red Sox don't play another game for the rest of the year. That just goes to show exactly how the scheduling is and all that, anyways. Yeah,
that blew my mind when they said that over the weekend against the Red Sox, in which the Jays won 3 of 4. But also, series, yes, if you look at the schedule, there's in the next, I think they got 23 games left in this month, let's say. And they've got a bunch of them against the Tigers and the Orioles. And so if you can't make hay there, that could do them in if they don't dominate those series against those 2 teams that are struggling in the American League.
They're having way too much fun right now. There's no way the Jays don't make that wild card. No, I don't think there's any scenario where that doesn't happen. Plus, I mean, the only thing that could mess things up a little bit is that if the Yankees stay hot and then the Red Sox turn things around a little bit, because I think Tampa's going to win the division. I don't think there's anything we can do about that. But I think so. Chris Sale comes back this week for the Red Sox. That'll be a great arm to have him. So, it's all going to depend on what happens, like those big series the Jays are going to have. But I just love watching them play ball right now. It's so much fun.
Yeah, there's nobody coming out of the Central Division except the White Sox. And then you have the Astros and the A's and Seattle out west. So if you're watching the standings, sometimes, folks, it's more interesting to watch the wild card standings and see how Seattle and the A's are doing as well as what the Yankees and the Red Sox are doing.
Yeah, well, you're absolutely right. But Gerry, let's move on. We've only got 6 minutes to the wrap here. We still have to talk about the Olympics, my friend.
Oh,
They come
so
and
much
go.
to talk about. Yes.
Yeah, so we've got to get started on that. Right out of the gate, there's so much to talk about, and how, from an Olympic standpoint, how glued to your TV were you? We'll start there.
First of all, it seemed like in the first week of the event of the Olympics, everything that was positive for Canada was coming from the women, and it didn't seem like there was any men to talk about it all. And tip your hat to them in all the sports, especially in swimming. That was a big thing. Soccer was the big thing. The women's volleyball was a big thing. But the jewel of the Olympics is track and field, and the fact there was no fans there kind of wasn't great for me, because you could hear a lot more, which was also interesting in the coverage of what's going on down on the track. But if you can't love Andre DeGrasse and the smile he has on his face and the ability, Chris, if he had another 10 meters in that 100-meter dash, he would have won that too. Of course. Because he's one of those late guys. He didn't even they showed it, how slow a start he had in the 100-meter dash. But my goodness, in the last 40 meters of that race, he really took off. And the same thing happened in the 200 and of course, in the relay. And here's a fella now in six Olympic events. He's won a medal in every one that he's appeared in. That's what it is, isn't it?
Yeah. 6 appearances, 6 medals.
So that's very impressive. Of course, Damian Warner, and to win the decathlon is just tremendous to me. But, I wanted to have the discussion with you about the Lou Marsh Award. And if you were looking at DeGrasse or Warner, which one would you select?
I'd have to go with Warner. Winning the decathlon arguably makes you the greatest athlete in the world. And that's not to take away from what DeGrasse did.
Right.
What I really liked about DeGrasse's races, and if you go back to the last Olympics when him and Usain Bolt became BFFs and they were running and smiling, you see the photos, it was great. Well, as he was running these races, Gerry, did you notice that when he was across the finish line, he was looking to his left and his right like he was when he had Usain Bolt, looking for someone to be there with him, right? But overall, you can't take away from Warner and what his accomplishments were. And that's not, like I said, it's not to take away from DeGrasse. I love DeGrasse, but you got to, if I was giving the Lou Marsh out, Warner's my guy.
And I'm with you. And I was thinking that earlier, that I was a Warner guy, but the profile that DeGrasse has, right, not only off the track and in his charisma and his marketability, if you want to call it, and then to go to the event and live up to every expectation we ever wanted to see from him, and to win those high-profile events. And again, I said to you, here's a guy in Warner that played that participated in 10 events and won the event handily and was very good in all of them. And how you never heard of him before. Right. I'd never heard of Damian Warner before the Olympics started.
Right.
But I think I was favoring Warner, but now I'm thinking more DeGrasse. But in regards to drama from the Olympics, Chris, you can't get any more drama than the gold medal for the women's soccer championship, and how it came down to a couple of kicks here or there, and how both teams, when it came to the penalty kick, missed 3, and we went into extras. That was mind-boggling. The drama was pure.
I was sitting in the office trying to get some work done, and I had the game on to my left, and I was sitting at my desk, and I was glued to the TV. Like, work just didn't matter anymore. And you're right. It was a 1-0 game the whole time, and then Canada comes back and ties it up, goes into penalty kicks, and then when I saw Canada, when they scored their first, I think, and then they missed the second one, and then when that
third one killed me. The third one, I said, "This is done."
I messaged a friend of mine. I said, "This is over. It's done." And then it just got so dramatic and kept going. But how fantastic was Stephanie Lavallee? She was just unbelievable. Greatest keeper. She retired as well after this was over. Said she was done. But all this to say, put it on a silver platter for Christine Sinclair, the greatest female Canadian soccer player to ever don the pitch. I was so happy for her.
Yes, but walk off into the sunset. 21 years in the program, crazy. Chris. You've reached your pinnacle. It's time. If she wants to come back, great. But here's a perfect opportunity
There'll be no scenario
for her to exit. Yeah.
Right.
And the other thing about the Olympics, Chris, that annoyed me was some of the events that they brought, like climbing a wall and 3-on-3 basketball. Okay. Experimental indeed. I'd rather have curling in the Olympics than I'd have 3-on-3 basketball or climbing a wall. But again, I'm not disrespecting curling. I love curling, of course.
I'm going to put just about as much effort into the conversation that you just brought up in those sports as I do when I'm not doing anything at all.
I was shocked that those were events. I was.
It was absolutely foolish, but overall great. Got to get a quick mention, and we got to go to the wrap. So can't talk about it, but you got to give credit to Penny Oleksiak, most decorated Canadian athlete of all time. Kudos, Gerry. It is time for the wrap. We got to get into it. The MHL schedule's been released. I mean, what are your thoughts on that so far? It looks like they're going to play a full season.
Right. If you remember, Chris, of course, the season was shortened for everybody by COVID, and the Nova Scotia and PEI didn't get to play in any sort of playoffs. They had a playoff in the Northern Division of the NHL, but 52 games scheduled. They're coming back hard the way they were before, crossing the borders, hopefully, and get to play each other. It gets underway in late September. Lionel Messi in the world of soccer, Chris, is going to have a new home? ?
Yeah, one of the greatest footballers to ever lace him up. In a shocking turn of events, decides to not re-up with Barcelona, signs a 2-year deal just past his physical, will wear number 30 for Paris Saint-Germain. This is a huge move. I mean, when I talk about one of the greatest, I mean, I'm a Ronaldo man myself, but overall, I mean, there's no denying that Lionel Messi is one of the greatest footballers to ever play the game. Good luck to him and Paris Saint-Germain. It's exciting. The fans will love everything about it. Gerry, CFL Week 1 in the books. What did you think?
Welcome back, CFL. The Bombers finally get a chance to hoist their banner that they won in 2019 against the Hamilton Ticats and beat the Ticats in the season opener. And it's surprising. A couple of Eastern teams went west in Ottawa and Toronto and got victories on the prairies. But I'm loving what the Elks have done with their helmet. I'm loving that. I'm loving football, and I love the CFL, and I'm glad it's back. I love it in the middle of summer. And what about John Cooper? He's the defending Stanley Cup champ, Chris, but he's going after something else.
Absolutely. Big if, and I mean big if NHL players are able to partake in the Beijing Olympics, Canada will have a 2-time Stanley Cup winner behind the bench. You know, they made the announcement that John Cooper's their guy, which is, no surprise. It shows what winning's all about. But if they can get there, John Cooper will be the guy at the helm. So, he's going to have a pretty good surrounding cast, too. I was looking at it. They've got Bruce Cassidy, Peter DeBoer, Barry Trotz. They'll all be his assistants. But overall, we'll see what happens. And here's hoping they can get there. Gerry, it's been another great show. We hope everybody's enjoyed it. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We will see everybody next week. Take care.